Okay, Cancer, thanks for tuning in to your yearly 2015 horoscope. My name is Athen. Okay, so we've got, let's start with the overall energies of the eclipses. The lunar cycles always does a really good job of showing us the big picture theme, what's going on in the overall picture, and then we can get more specific in terms of these transiting planets and how they're aspecting the sky, how they're aspecting each other. So let's go ahead and start with the solar eclipse that took place back in 2014 in Libra. And for you guys, this was your fourth house. So perhaps something new started in terms of your home, family, your roots, your emotional sphere, something along those fourth house matters really started for you guys, and continue to cultivate that, whatever it is. If it's the new move, if it's the new family member, a new, whatever it is in that fourth house, continue to cultivate that up until the spring time period. Because in the springtime, we have the new set of eclipses in March and April. And that's going to be the culmination of whatever it is, that new direction you've been moving in relation to that fourth house up until that point. Then in that spring time period, we have the eclipses happening in Pisces, which is your guys' ninth house. So something might culminate from that fourth house related stuff that might really expand your horizons in some way. Perhaps invoke maybe some traveling, some long distance matters. But overall, I think it's just getting more in touch with your higher connection to spirit. That's what the ninth house is. Or perhaps seeing your life path. Having the, especially the lunar eclipse in your ninth house really magnifies that and really allows you to see how your overall path is unfolding. And then the solar eclipse in that area is going to lead you off into a new direction in terms of that up until the fall time period when we have the next set of eclipses. So from spring to fall, whatever this new thing is in terms of long distance matters, travel, higher realms, connection to spirit, also anything involving university, basically anything that expands either your mind or your physical surroundings. There's something new starting there. So whatever that is, continue to put energy into it, focus on that stuff from the spring to fall time period, and then when fall comes around, I think you'll notice a harvest of that, a culmination of that, okay? And so that culmination is going to be taking place in Virgo, which is your guys' third house, which has to do with perhaps what you've learned in the whole experience. So if it is traveling or if it is university, I mean, that makes perfect sense. The third house has to do with teaching, learning, communicating, anything in that sector. And pretty much, the whole year is actually going to be an emphasis on you guys furthering your learning and treating this whole year as a learning experience. Also, being more communicative, learning how to communicate better, how to relate better. For some of you in sales, how to increase your sales in your work and that sort of thing. The North Node is going to be in your third house for the whole year. And that's the overall focal point. And when we focus in that North Node direction, we notice that everything is nice and harmonious and nice and flowing. So pay attention to how you're thinking. Do things, that are perhaps learning, teaching, communicating, sharing, that sort of stuff. And you'll notice that whatever that is, if you implement that into whichever area of your life, you want to apply that to, whether it's relationships, work, or whatever, you'll notice that there's a nice flow and harmony with that. But in either case, there's a culmination there in that fall time period in terms of that. And for some of you, that could be a completion in those areas. Now, for the new energy, which is the solar eclipse, which is happening in Leo, is happening in your guys' second house in the fall time period. So from the fall and into 2016, there's a brand new energy of working with perhaps some new finances, new resources, something that has to do with your new sense of value. Second house rules value. It's what you value both physically and materially and non-materially as well. And getting more in touch with nature, more in touch with your innate skills, your innate abilities. So whatever that is, that could be setting you guys off into a brand new direction, and that's going to lead you into 2016 as well. So when that time comes around, I think you'll know what that is. So utilize that energy onward. Now that's the overall big picture. Now let's go ahead and get more specific in terms of the transiting planets and where they're located this year for you guys. Now, starting with Jupiter, Jupiter's changing signs in July. He's been transiting your first house for the second half of 2014. And now he's going to continue to be in that first house up until that summer time period. So for the first half of the year, it's very important you guys continue to open your horizons, continue to expand. There's been lots of opportunities, lots of open horizons happening for you guys, and continue to open up to that, because the opportunities are trying to make themselves known to you. And it's really just a matter of being open to it and receiving it, and really doing something about it, really. With all these opportunities, Jupiter in the first house is just opportunities everywhere in all areas. So it's about making something of it. Okay, what's there and what do you want to make into a reality? Utilize that. Otherwise, the Jupiter transit, it's just nice. It's like, yeah, there's expansion there, but if you don't make anything of it, then you're not utilizing it to the fullest. So that's the emphasis there, is on your guys' first house, which is your overall life, your overall experience, your overall, the way things unfold, and also you. Opportunities for you to increase your sense of self, and your goals and your ambitions, things that are important to you. And that's why it seems like it's just generally in life in general, because it is. The first house rules the entire chart. And also your self-image too, allowing people to see you and being more open and sharing yourself essentially with the world. Now in July, we've got a shift from your first house into your second house, and for the second half of the year, the emphasis is really going to be on you guys increasing your sense of self-worth. Okay, and this is where I think this is the big shifts for you guys. Mid-year is a shift in that second house sector, which is about your abundance. Perhaps seeing how there's opportunities for you to increase your abundance, inner and outer abundance, or increase your innate skills that you're born with, increase your connection to nature. All of these things are going to create those opportunities. So again, make something of that. If you are noticing opportunities for you to increase your abundance, then you have to actually put in the work, put in the effort to make it a reality. And that work and effort comes from Saturn, which is the polar to Jupiter, the polar planet. And in this sense, Saturn has been transiting your guys' fifth house for the past couple months of 2014. So it's a brand new energy, and Saturn's going to be now in your fifth house for the next 2.5 years, or 2 years probably by the time you watch this video. And so that's going to be really where you can create, where you have the productive energy. And what's really nice is it's in your guys' fifth house, which has to do with your creation in general. And Saturn in the fifth is taking your creativity and making something of it. So utilize this whole year in 2016 to continue to cultivate your creative skills in some way. And perhaps this can be a new project, a new entrepreneurial business, something that has to do with even maybe kids. Some of you might be parents and going through that process. So whatever it is, it's becoming more disciplined in that area and making that creative stuff into a reality, into a solidified long-term sort of picture. So that's where the constructive energy is for you guys. So do that. Be willing to do that. Be willing to construct your creativity, and to know that if it feels like because sometimes Saturn in the fifth can feel like a little bit of inhibition in terms of your self-expression and what you're able to create. That's only if you're not stepping into the Saturnian role of being a master of creation, being responsible with it, taking it seriously. Fifth house is, it's important to take it seriously. The things we create are very important, very long lasting. So putting in that energy there, you guys can, that's where the productive energy is, and it's very nice because it's very constructive, very creative, and it can come from your joy, your creativity, your zest for life, and creating and making things the way that you want to see them for the long term. Now, let's go ahead and shift to Uranus, which is a very slow-moving planet, and he's obviously in the same sign, and he's going to continue to be for some time. And he's been transiting your guys' ninth house, which is going back to all of this, long-distance travel, university, also your spiritual connection and your life path in general has been changing a lot. You guys' life path, there's been lots of shifts, lots of changes, and this is good. And with the South Node there, it's a sense of just releasing any attachments to how the path is unfolding. And then through that, there's a tremendous amount of freedom that's being gained. And also, letting go of any ideas of what your freedom is about, like how it should be in a certain way. Releasing that. Knowing that you already are free. You deserve freedom, and it's already there, and just tapping into it. It's already there. Just tap into your freedom, and then naturally you're going to notice that no matter what's going on in your path, you always have that sense of freedom that you're bringing into it. And that's really the focus here, is how you guys can be more free on your life path. How can you be more yourself with all of this, opportunities and changes that are happening in your life? So really a strong emphasis there for you guys, especially with Uranus in that ninth. Now, in terms of Neptune and Chiron, we've had them transiting your 8th house for a long time, and that's been, the house of change. And so there's a spirituality, a spiritual transformation that's been taking place with you guys whenever you release your attachments. The 8th house is basically enjoying the powerful elements of spirituality, and powerful meaning you're able to combine your instinctual side or your physical side with your higher spiritual side and bringing those together. So there's this whole alchemical process with you guys that's been going on and spiritualizing you. It's helping you release attachments, and then through those attachments you're noticing a tremendous amount of peace, tranquility, and overall flow in your life. When you're willing to make changes, that's the key there with Neptune. Neptune's showing you that when you're willing to make changes in your life and you're open to the beauty of change, then everything is nice and flowing, nice and serendipitous. Now with Chiron there might be some insecurities involving that which need to be healed, and that's totally fine. So it's the time this whole year for you to continue to heal any wounds that you have around life and death, beginnings and endings, and overall change in the universe. Now let's talk about Pluto. Pluto is very, very slow. He's been transiting your 6th house for a very long time, and this has to do with your guys' work, your daily routine. When I say work, I mean more of like your craft and what you're developing, the daily activities of what you're doing in the work. And perhaps even more importantly, your health is the 6th house, and this is spiritual, physical, and mental health. So there's some releasing and some perhaps attachments to self-improvement there that need to be let go of. Maybe it's some old notions of self-improvement that you need to continuously improve, which is true, but maybe there's some attachments there, some fear associated with it. Wherever there's Pluto, there's always an opportunity for us to really transform and transmute a lot of the spiritual side of that sector. So in this sense, it's pay attention to any fears or attachments, which are essentially the same thing, that you have in terms of your self-improvement or your health or your routine or your craft in some way. Be willing to let those go, release those attachments, and then naturally you're going to notice a tremendous amount of spiritual power that comes from this. At the end of the day, Pluto is just stripping away all the garbage, all the nonsense, the conditioning and stuff that we've inherited or got from past lives or early childhood, letting it all go to allow our true self, our unique spark, our spiritual power to come forth in that area. So continue to release any attachments to that, and overall I think you're going to find that very enjoyable. And this is a very strong emphasis for the first part of this year while we still have this Uranus squaring up to Pluto. Uranus has been squaring up to Pluto for the past 2 to 3 years, and now we're coming up to the tail end of it. This is it. In March, it's the final aspect, and then it's done. So use the time for these first 3 months to continue to make any changes to your health that need to be made, okay? Any changes to your routine. And then through that, you're gonna gain a tremendous amount of freedom, and things you're gonna notice you're gonna be more in alignment with your path and the changes that are happening there with Uranus, okay? And being more of your true self. And then through that freedom, okay, which is a freedom to be yourself, as your path unfolds, you're gonna notice positive changes to the health and sector area as well. So there's some balancing that needs to take place between those two elements, Pluto and Uranus, with this square. And for all of us, it's different individually, but it's involving those two sectors for you. So balancing the work with, or what I should say is the routine, the daily activities with the spirituality, with the expansive stuff, with the big picture stuff. In some way can really harmonize those two and create those changes that are, necessary in all of our lives. All right, so let's talk about January now. January is a very important month because it's involving that square. And it's also involving a square between Pluto and the North Node, which is part of this whole kind of T-square configuration. And Uranus is also going conjunct the South Node. So lots of energy involving this in January. Use January as a time to make those changes in your life, whatever that is. Whether it's the health, whether it's the 9th house stuff. And through that, what you're going to notice is it's going to be assisting you on your path. Perhaps there's some releasing you need to do in terms of like I said, some old spiritual notions, some old theories, philosophies, divine principles that are just no longer serving you, okay? And through that, you're going to notice things really opening up for you to really start to enjoy the more exchanging elements of life, which is the third house, what we were talking about in terms of communication, sharing, teaching, learning, and those sorts of things. And also, again, like I said, positive changes to your overall health and well-being. So I think we all know what those changes are that need to be made. And if not, do a little bit more of soul searching, a little bit more spiritual work, and you'll find them, because deep down you do know. And make those changes in January. Use January as a very active, catalytic month, and I think you'll find that very freeing, especially mid-month and onward. Now let's go and talk about March. March is where we have the first set of eclipses that we talked about, spring ones, and that's when we have this final aspect with Uranus and Pluto, and we have an ongoing transit that's been going on since September, as we have Jupiter trining up to Uranus, and this is going to go on through June. So for the first half of this year, and especially around the March and June time periods, you'll notice that there's going to be a lot of opportunity for you guys to change your path, or to do these ninth house activities, the expansive stuff, mental or physical expansion. Through that, there's lots of abundance, lots of opportunities, and I think that's where a lot of these opportunities are coming from in terms of Jupiter that I was talking about. And also perhaps doing some of these, capitalizing on some of these opportunities, doing some of these things, these doors that are opening, walking through the door, you'll find very freeing and actually assisting you in your path. So there's a nice harmony between all these opportunities and things that are unfolding in your life and these changes that are happening on your path. Okay, so be willing to make those changes, and then naturally you're going to notice more opportunities. And the more you're willing to walk through the doors of those opportunities, the more you're going to notice positive changes to your path and expansion. So that's beautiful. And, it's just a matter of actually doing it, like I said, especially with these easy aspects. That nothing happens to us. We have to be proactive and actually make something of it. So that's the first half of this year. Now let's shift to August now. This is the next set of aspects. Jupiter is going to be squaring up to Saturn. And this is taking all of these possibilities, which are now have shifted into your second house sector. Remember, in summertime, things shift into more of the abundance in your life. So in August, it's perhaps taking a much more serious, tone to creating more abundance in your life. Okay, what can you physically do? What can you do, in a mature, grounded way to increase more abundance to you? And that's the energies of August. So use August, very productive month can be, and use it to make those solidified changes. And also use August to further any expansions that you're doing in terms of these creative projects or those fifth house activities that I talked about in terms of Saturn. Now in September is another very powerful month. That's when we have the eclipses, the fall eclipses. And then also we have two aspects taking place. We have Jupiter opposite Neptune and Saturn sextiling up to the north node. Now in terms of Jupiter and Neptune, there's a balancing that needs to take place between your resource sector in some way. So if there's expansions happening and you're getting more abundance, or there's something that needs to be balanced between your abundance and the perhaps abundance of others or other people's resources. Okay, so balancing those two, seeing how it's important to depend on other people to a certain point, and it's important for you to depend on yourself up to a certain point. And so there's a balance, and the better you can balance these two elements, or what's important to you, what's important to others. It's the self and others in regards to finances. Finding that even point, that even keel, is going to be very important for you in September. Now, also in September, Saturn sextiles up to that north node, so a lot of this shifting that's happening with the eclipses, there's a lot of productive energy available for you guys to move in that direction, in the finance direction, and also in the communication sector with that north node in the third house. Perhaps deciding to, write a book or communicate more, or how to be more grounded with your overall thinking patterns, that sort of stuff. Very powerful, very, very good. It's an opportunity there for you to really channel in the grounded energies towards your path in September. Now in October, we have Jupiter trining up to Pluto. So positive developments in regards to these changes in your health and routine and those sorts of matters with Pluto there. Opportunities there. So tap into it, see those opportunities, and it has to do with something to do with your wealth, increased abundance in some way perhaps. But whatever it is, it's very nice. So that's an energy for you to really channel in positive energy into making those changes in your life, and then also perhaps making changes in that second house. How can you think a little bit better? How can you release any attachments to finances? It's nothing square, it's nothing, dense. It's actually flowing very nice with the trine. So it's perhaps just being a little bit more conscious of how you can manifest and your manifestation power when it comes to your abundance in the second half of the year. Now in November we have Jupiter opposite Chiron, so again needing to balance self and other in terms of finances, and there will be some healing that will be a result of that, which is very nice. And also in November, Saturn's going to be squaring up to Neptune, so it's a very spiritually grounded month for all of us, and it's grounding all of this transformation that's been taking place with the creative process and the creative projects. So November, really balance those two together. See how you can make whatever this creative stuff is more spiritual, more meaningful to you on an inner level, and how you can be more responsible with the changes that are happening in your life, how you can be more constructive with them. You see, that's the balancing of those two energies. But overall, it's going to be very, very productive month if you take the initiative and make those changes. All right, guys, well, I'm going to draw a card and see where Spirit would like an emphasis for this year ahead. Okay, Uranus. Well, Uranus is about being your true self, and I was really getting a strong sense of this for you guys this year, is be yourself, be your authentic self. You notice how Uranus is holding the universe in the palm of his hand, and this is the infinite possibilities, and that's when we see the infinite possibilities, when we're our true selves, when we're being, who we really are, and letting that light shine, and doing the thing that maybe isn't exactly status quo. This whole challenge with status quo and your guys' path going on. And the more willing you are to do what's true to you, do what's important to you and what you're really about, the more positive unfoldments you guys are going to see on your path this year. All right, guys, well, I hope you have a great year. Please get in touch if you'd like a personal reading. I do MP3 or live sessions. You can click the link on the following page, and have a great time. Thanks for watching. Take care.